48 teams, 12 groups, one massive, chaotic, history-making tournament. And now, we are down to 32. The group stage of the 2026 FIFA World Cup is over. And let me tell you something. This has been the most wild, the most unpredictable, and the most controversial group stage we have ever seen. We're talking about history makers, teams that have never been to a knockout stage before. We're talking about viral fan moments that broke the internet, from Viking rows in Times Square to celebrity hot takes that backfired spectacularly. We're talking about a nation with just 500,000 people that were given a 1% chance, and they defied everything. We're talking about shock exits, emotional celebrations, and underdog stories that will make you believe in the beautiful game all over again. In this video, we are going to break down everything. Who's through, who's out, what the fans are saying, and what comes next. You do not want to miss a single second. Let's get into it.
Before we dive into the drama, let's set the scene properly. This is the first World Cup in history to feature 48 teams, the biggest, most expansive tournament FIFA has ever organised. Hosted across 3 countries, the United States, Canada, and Mexico, this tournament has been about breaking barriers, giving more nations a chance at glory, and creating a spectacle unlike anything we've ever seen. And honestly, it delivered on every single promise. The format was simple but brutal. 12 groups of 4 teams each. The top 2 teams from every group automatically punched their ticket to the knockout stage. But here's where it got interesting. The 8 best third place teams also advanced. That meant more teams had something to play for until the very last whistle. It meant more drama, more chaos, and more opportunities for underdogs to shock the world. And shock the world they did. We saw debutants step up. We saw giants stumble. We saw moments that will be replayed for decades. But before we get into all of that, let's break down exactly who made it through. Because some of these names are going to surprise you. And some of the teams that missed out, even more surprising. So let's run through the list. And trust me, there are some stories here you won't believe. Alright, let's run through the list, group by group, team by team. And I promise you, there are some surprises waiting for us. Let's start with Group A. Mexico and South Africa. That's right, Bafana are through to the knockout stage for the first time in years. The home crowd roared them on, and they delivered. Group B, Switzerland, Canada, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. 3 teams, all through. Canada making history, Bosnia writing their own fairy tale. Group C, Brazil and Morocco. The 5-time champions cruise through, but Morocco, the Atlas Lions, they're back and they mean business. Group D, USA, Australia, and Paraguay. The hosts are through, the Socceroos are through, and Paraguay, they scraped in as one of the best third place teams. Group E, Germany, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. The Germans, clinical as always, but Ivory Coast, they're back in the knockouts for the first time since 2014, and Ecuador, we'll come back to them, they did something special. Group F, Netherlands, Japan, and Sweden. The Dutch, classy, Japan, fearless, Sweden, solid as a rock. Group G, Belgium and Egypt. The golden generation, still fighting. And Egypt, with Salah leading the charge, they're through. Group H, Spain and Cape Verde. Yep, you heard that right, Cape Verde. A tiny island nation with a population of just over 500,000 people. They are in the knockout stage of a World Cup. We're going to come back to this story because trust me, you need to hear what they did to get here. Absolutely remarkable. Group 1, France, Norway and Senegal. The world champions are through, but Norway, with Haaland and Odegaard, they're making noise. And Senegal, the Lions of Teranga, they're back. Group J, Argentina, Austria and Algeria. The world champions, Messi's final dance continues. Austria, quietly impressive, and Algeria, they're through as one of the best third place teams. Group K, Colombia, Portugal and DR Congo. Colombia, electric. Portugal, Ronaldo's last stand? Maybe. And DR Congo, they made it. First time since 1974. And Group L, England, Croatia and Ghana. The 3 Lions, through. Croatia, the eternal overachievers. And Ghana, the Black Stars, they're back in the knockouts. Now, let me take a moment to talk about something that genuinely gives me goosebumps. Because this is what makes football the most beautiful sport on earth. It's not about the big names or the massive budgets, it's about the dreamers. The teams that were never supposed to be here. The nations that were written off before a single ball was kicked. And they defied every expectation. Take South Africa. Before match day 3, FIFA's own data gave them just a 19.7% chance of qualifying. 19.7%. That's statistically improbable. But Bafana Bafana did not care about statistics. They played with heart, with soul, with the weight of a nation on their shoulders, and they got the job done. Their fans, oh my word, their fans, they celebrated like they'd won the entire tournament. Because for them, this was a victory. This was validation. This was belief. Now, let me take a moment to talk about something that genuinely gives me goosebumps. Because this is what makes football the most beautiful sport on earth. I want you to imagine this for a second. You're a country of just over 500,000 people. That's it. That's your entire population. For context, that's smaller than the city of Boston, smaller than the city of Cape Town. Some stadiums at this World Cup hold more people than the entire population of your country. You're drawn in Group H, and who are your opponents? Spain, the 2010 world champions, and Uruguay, two-time world champions, two of the most decorated nations in the history of the sport. And then there's Saudi Arabia, a team that beat Argentina in the last World Cup. On paper, you have no business being here. The stats say you shouldn't even compete. But Cape Verde didn't care about stats. They started with Spain, 0-0, a draw. They kept the world champions quiet. Then they faced Uruguay, 2-2. They went toe-to-toe with one of the greatest football nations in history. And then, Saudi Arabia, 0-0, another draw. 3 matches, 0 losses, undefeated. A nation of 500,000 people, undefeated against 2 former world champions. But here's where it gets emotional. After the final whistle of their last match, the 0-0 draw with Saudi Arabia, Cape Verde didn't celebrate straight away. They waited. They stayed on the pitch, watching the other match, because they needed Uruguay to lose to Spain to qualify. And when Spain scored, when the final whistle blew in that other match, absolute chaos.
Players collapsed to the ground.
Goalkeeper Vizina, who is 40 years old by the way, dropped to his knees in tears. 2 clean sheets at 40 years old against Spain and Saudi Arabia. Let that sink in. Fans in the stands were crying. Players were hugging each other. Grown men, professional athletes in tears because they had just done the impossible. And then the dressing room footage went viral. You need to see this. Players jumping up and down, celebrating like they'd won the World Cup itself, chanting over and over, 1%, 1%, 1%, because that's what they were given. A 1% chance of going undefeated in the group stage. 1%. And they did it. Their coach, Bubista, said something that stuck with me. He said, and I quote, "We are proud to be able to play Argentina. This is excellent for our country, regardless of the match." Think about that. They've just qualified for the knockout stage of the World Cup. And their reward? A match against Lionel Messi, against the defending world champions, against Argentina, the ultimate David versus Goliath story. And you know what? They have nothing to lose. They've already made history. They are the smallest nation ever to reach a World Cup knockout stage. Everything from here is a bonus. But here's the thing about underdogs. They don't know when to quit. They were given a 1% chance, and they did it anyway. You think they're scared of Argentina? I don't think so. Cape Verde, 500,000 people, 1% chance. Undefeated against world champions, and now they've got Messi in their sights. This is football at its purest.
Bosnia and Herzegovina,
First time ever in a World Cup knockout stage. Canada, the co-hosts, making history on home soil. Ivory Coast, back in the knockouts for the first time since 2014. Egypt, Salah and co. finally breaking through. And DR Congo, the Leopards, qualifying for the first time since 1974. I mean seriously, 1974. That's over 50 years of waiting. This is what the expanded World Cup was always supposed to do. Give more nations a seat at the table. Give more dreams a chance to come true. And honestly, if you're not moved by these stories, I don't know what to tell you. This is football at its purest. This is the magic that keeps us all watching. Now let's talk about the moment that literally broke the internet.
Because when you think of iconic World Cup fan moments, you think of the Vuvuzelas in 2010, the Mexican wave, the Iceland clap, and now we have the Viking row, and it is glorious. Norwegian fans did the Viking row everywhere, on escalators, on the subway, in Times Square, in the stadium, and on the field. Hundreds of supporters gathered in Times Square, right in the heart of New York City. They sat down on the ground, synchronized their movements, and started rowing like Vikings. One drummer keeping the beat, hundreds of fans moving as one. It was beautiful, it was chaotic, and it was everywhere on social media. But here's where it gets even better. After Norway beat Senegal 3-2, a hard-fought, dramatic victory, Erling Haaland and Martin Ødegaard joined the fans. The two biggest stars in Norwegian football sitting on the ground rowing with their supporters. Captain Martin Ødegaard banged the drum while his teammates rowed on the pitch. Haaland said after the match, and I quote, "I saw it online, it's gone completely viral, it was very cool to see, and when we won, we just had to join in." That is the connection between players and fans that makes football special, and the internet loved it. One fan tweeted, "This is the most wholesome thing I've ever seen." Another said, "Haaland rowing with fans in Times Square is peak World Cup energy." It was a moment of pure joy, pure community, pure football. And honestly, we need more of that in this world.
But of course, the internet giveth and the internet taketh away. Because France fans, in an attempt to mock Norway, tried their own version of the Viking row. And my goodness, it was bad. Out of sync, no rhythm, no coordination. It was like watching a group of people who had never seen water trying to row a boat. The internet went nuclear. One fan said, and I quote, "Thank God they were playing football and not rowing. That form is horrible. They'd be drowning in 2 seconds. Another said, "They can't even do it right. Embarrassing." And honestly, they weren't wrong. But credit to the French fans, at least they tried, and they gave us some absolutely hilarious content. The side-by-side comparisons of Norway versus France doing the Viking row are pure comedy gold. If you haven't seen them, pause this video, go search it up, and come back. I'll wait. And then we have the celebrity moment that did not land. Tom Brady, the NFL legend, the 7-time Super Bowl champion, the man who knows everything about American football. He was watching Ronaldo score in his 6th World Cup, a record, and he tweeted this: "Best World Cup ever?" And fans were not having it. Replies came flooding in. One fan said, "Don't talk nonsense. You killed the game with stupid commercial breaks." Another said, "First time watching? It's so watered down." And another, "Not even close, Tom. Stick to what you know." Brady learned a valuable lesson that day. Do not mess with football fans. We are passionate, we are opinionated, and we will call you out. And in the UK, ITV made the interesting decision to bring out Ant and Dec during World Cup coverage. Ant and Dec, the presenters of I'm a Celebrity, during the World Cup. Fans were furious. One said, "Ant and Dec FFS, I'll switch back on at 9:55. Another said, "Ant and Dec being interviewed during the World Cup may be the strangest thing I've seen during this whole event." Not exactly the reception ITV was hoping for. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. The knockout bracket is set. The round of 32 is upon us. And let me tell you, some of these matchups are absolute fire. Let's break them down. Match 1, South Africa versus Canada. An underdog battle right away. Two teams making history. The entire continent of Africa will be behind Bafana Bafana. But Canada, they're playing at home. This is going to be electric. Match 2, Brazil versus Japan. The 5-time world champions versus the Asian powerhouse. Brazil are favourites, obviously, but Japan has the discipline, the organisation, and the belief to cause an upset. Don't sleep on this one. Match 3, Germany versus Paraguay. Now, we almost didn't get this, because you know who shocked Germany in the group stage? Ecuador. Yes, Ecuador beat Germany 2-1 in one of the biggest upsets of the tournament. Coach Sebastian Beccacici went straight to the stands to hug his family. Tens of thousands of Ecuadorian fans stayed in the stadium for hours to celebrate. Germany survived, just barely, but they are wounded. Match 4, Netherlands versus Morocco. The Dutch, beautiful football, total football. But Morocco, the Atlas Lions, they've already proven they can beat anyone on their day. This is going to be a tactical battle. Match 5, Ivory Coast versus Norway. This is fascinating. On one side you have the Ivorian attack, electrifying, unpredictable, capable of scoring from anywhere. On the other, you have Norway, structured, disciplined, but with Haaland's raw power leading the line. This is a clash of styles, fast versus controlled, individual brilliance versus team cohesion, goals guaranteed. Match 6, France versus Sweden. European giants go head to head. France, the world champions. Sweden, solid, disciplined, impossible to break down. This is the definition of a heavyweight clash. Match 7, Mexico versus Ecuador. CONCACAF versus CONMEBOL. Passion, intensity, chaos. And Ecuador are riding that momentum from beating Germany. This one is going to be spicy. Match 8, England versus DR Congo. The Three Lions, star-studded, confident, but DR Congo, the Leopards, they scrape through as underdogs, and underdogs are always dangerous. Match 9, Belgium versus Senegal. The Golden Generation versus the Lions of Teranga. De Bruyne, Lukaku, Courtois versus Mane, Koulibaly, Mendy. This is the kind of match that could go either way.
Match 10, USA versus Bosnia. Host nation action. The Americans are flying high, but Bosnia, they've got that Balkan grit. Expect a physical, emotional battle. Match 11, Spain versus Austria. European spice. Spain, possession kings. Austria, structured, tactical, disciplined. Football purists will love this one. Match 12, Portugal versus Croatia. This could be the last World Cup for Ronaldo and Modric. Two legends of the game, two countries with massive pride. I am not missing this one. Match 13, Switzerland versus Algeria. European grit versus African flair. Switzerland, reliable, organised. Algeria, unpredictable, exciting. This is going to be fascinating. Match 14, Australia versus Egypt. Battle of the underdogs, the Socceroos versus Salah's Egypt. Both teams have nothing to lose, and that is when they are at their most dangerous. Match 15, Argentina versus Cape Verde. The world champions versus the debutants. The ultimate David versus Goliath story. Cape Verde have already made history, but can they shock the world? Their coach said they're proud just to be here, but remember, they were given a 1% chance to go undefeated, and they did. Don't count them out. And match 16, Colombia versus Ghana. South American power versus African spirit. Colombia, dynamic, attacking. Ghana, passionate, relentless. This is going to be wild. So here's the big question, the one that everyone is asking, the one that has divided football fans across the entire planet. Is this the best World Cup ever, or is it too big? Fans are genuinely split. On one side, you've got people who love the chaos. They love the underdog stories. They love seeing new nations get a shot at glory. They love the unpredictability. They say, this is what football should be. This is the beautiful game at its most exciting. On the other side, you've got the critics. They say the tournament has been watered down. The quality isn't the same. There are too many matches, too many teams, too much fatigue. They say hydration breaks are killing momentum. Commercial interruptions are destroying the flow. This isn't the World Cup I grew up with. And honestly, there's truth on both sides. But here's what I know for sure. This tournament has given us moments. Moments we will never forget. Moments that remind us why we love this sport. And isn't that what it's all about? What do you think? Is this the greatest World Cup ever, or is it too much? Drop your take in the comments. I'll be reading every single one.
Let's hear what the players themselves are saying.
Cape Verde's coach, Bubista, said, "We are proud to be able to play Argentina. This is excellent for our country, regardless of the match." And Germany's coach, after losing to Ecuador, he said, "We underestimated them. That's on me. That won't happen again." These are the quotes that tell the real story behind the drama. Now let's talk about the biggest surprises of the tournament so far. Germany almost went out. Croatia scraped through by the skin of their teeth. And Japan? They were seconds away from elimination, but scored a 94th minute winner. This tournament has been unforgiving. One moment of madness and you're on a plane home. And that is a wrap on the 2026 World Cup group stage. What a ride it has been. History makers, viral moments, controversies, underdog fairy tales. This tournament has given us everything. But the knockout stage? That is where the real drama begins. Single elimination, no second chances, win or go home. And trust me, we are going to see some absolutely wild matches. I will be covering every single one of them. The goals, the drama, the reactions, everything. So if you want to stay up to date, if you don't want to miss a second of the action, hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. And drop a like on this video if you're ready for the knockout stage. And remember, football is never boring. The drama is just getting started. I'll see you in the next one. Tell me your predictions for the knockout stage matches in the comments. This is the fixture. Read the game.